Okay, we are back. I'm very happy to have on the Goldstein on Gelt Show, Ami Gal, who is the co-founder and CEO of a company called SQream Technologies. I just wanted to say it real loud because of the name. Ami is a real and true high-tech hero here in Israel. Ami, real pleasure to have you.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be at Goldstein.
So some people say that Israelis are a little bit loud and they like to scream from time to time, but I'm aware that's not the main goal of SQream Technologies. So can you give us a summary of what you're all about?
So SQream is about delivering business triumphs with data. And that's sometimes when you help Healthcare Institute to cure cancer, that's in their terms a business triumph. We enable organizations, research institutes, and others to actually leverage their data and to do miracles in their business goals. For example, we enable streams of data coming from defense sensors to allow better preserving of borders. We also allow, as I mentioned earlier, to advance rapidly on cancer curing research and many others. Ecosystems that have the data and until recently didn't have the right tools in order to actually leverage the data. So SQream.
Okay, so let's drill down into this, but we'll do it in human language, not too much technical terms. It sounds to me like you're working with organizations, whether they are military or medical research, and who have huge bodies of data, and helping to somehow take that data and put it into a workable form. Am I understanding you?
Yeah, you're completely right. They have massive data sets, just like you said, and sometimes it's impossible even to analyze simple stuff on top of that data. And what you need is infrastructure that that is much more scalable than anything on a planet today. And this is exactly what SQream does. SQream enables them to actually slice and dice the data and understand what it means to their goals, either it's business, financial, telecommunication, healthcare, or defense. So there's plenty of data in the world, everybody knows that, but being able to actually analyze that's pretty tough. And this is where SQream is actually enabling them to do that easily.
So let me ask you to respond to this. One of the areas that I deal with a lot of data in my day job is that I'm a financial advisor. So I'll work with clients and we develop retirement plans or try to figure out how to best manage their portfolio. And when we do this, the engine that we use to analyze data is something called a Monte Carlo simulation, which let me just give a 1-minute summary for the listeners. A Monte Carlo simulation takes many, many, many thousands or millions of different possible scenarios and tests them all, and then tells you the odds of any one particular scenario ending up. So people like to use this in retirement planning because it allows them to say, if I invest in a certain way or save in a certain way, then maybe I'll have a 70% chance of success. It's a tool that also deals with huge bodies of data. So tell me how you fit on that spectrum.
So when you use the Monte Carlo algorithm, the thing that actually makes you more accurate is if you can get more iteration. So if you can get into not only 10,000s or hundreds of thousands iterations, but the millions and billions iterations, it actually de-risk your decision because you have more scenarios analyzed. So this is actually a common big data task that we've been facing to enable to do just more iteration. And actually the risk points that you get are much better. So this is actually not only Monte Carlo, also Las Vegas and other common mechanics to the points that you just mentioned. So certainly big data tools enable much more accuracy in these algorithms.
We're talking with Ami Gal, a true high-tech hero who is a founder of a company called SQream Technologies. SQream Technologies helps other companies and organizations and institutions deal with huge bodies of data that they might collect or somehow have. And as he was just mentioning us a minute ago, this is an issue in the world of finance. Ami, I just want to drill into this question a little bit more regarding Monte Carlo simulations, because interested in statistics. I've myself tested it, and normally when we'll run a Monte Carlo simulation for a client, we'll look at maybe 1,000 different iterations. And you said a minute ago that if you run millions or billions, you get better results. So I remember once I was testing this, and I ran just 20 iterations. And I forget the exact number, but it ended up being something like the client had a 70% chance of success. And then I ran the same test, but with 1,000 iterations, and it pretty much ended up being around the same results, around a 70% chance of success. So I was interested. I realized, maybe you don't need to have billions of different trials. Tell me why it helps to be able to test so many different iterations.
I'll give you an example from another world, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
If you get an excellent chess player to play with a mediocre chess player, and they play 10 games with each other. Okay, and if you take the same players and you get them to play 1,000 games with each other, what do you think will be the odds into the two different cases? So, surprisingly, if they only play 10 games, probably it's going to be 10-0 in one case,
Right.
and it's going to be about 93% in the other case. Okay, so most of the algorithms you have to have enough statistical data set in order to be more accurate. So I don't think the difference between 20 to a few hundred or 1,000 is big enough. What we saw, at least in one case, that when you change the number of iterations from a few tens of thousands to a few millions and a few 10 millions, you actually got good 5 more points in the prediction capability, which was enormous for this use case. So this is one thing I wanted to mention about it. The other thing that is important, not for the private guy that is doing personal finance, but the other thing that is important to the bank or the asset manager that is doing that for you, is the fact that it's running insanely fast. They can do that today, but you will have to wait a month for the results. But if you can get the results in a few seconds, then it's a triumph. It's a business triumph. So this is exactly where SQream gets in. And usually we don't have personal finance kind of users to use our technology. Usually it's a much larger data sets, which also get back to your specific question. It's the size of the data set as well at the beginning and not only at the end.
Mm-hmm. I see. I liked your example before, by the way, about chess. I'm very involved in the chess world. In fact, I recently came out with a book that I wrote with a world chess champion, a woman named Susan Polgar, about how the strategies of chess can be applied to investing. We called the book Rich as a King because we thought it was a good combination of the two ideas, chess and investing. And I will tell you, in the many games I played with her, in order to test some of our theories, I would have to go for the 10-0 score because when you play against a world champion, pretty much she's always going to win. Ami, tell me something. The idea you have is interesting, but I'm guessing that the source of the idea came from something special that came up. Where did you come up with the idea to create this technology?
So back in 97, I was running a call center company that had some performance issues and wanted to do the same queries that I did in the call center much faster than running it on Oracle. And I tried to do it with a GPU, with a graphical processing unit, which happens to have thousands of cores as opposed to a few cores on a CPU. And I failed. It didn't work for me at that time. About 13 years later, I met my co-founder, Kostya Varkin, who came up with the idea how to actually do it right. And together we founded the company. So it's about using an extreme parallel tool that was created for streaming, for videos, for pictures, and utilize the same power for big data queries. So this is one side of the story, and the other side of the story is about, it includes vodka falling on the floor. So
But amazingly, out of all of that, you became an award-winning technology. I mean, we're nearing the end of our time, but just tell me, running a company like this in Israel, is Israel the right place to be developing this kind of technology? And maybe you can give just a moment or a thought of either inspiration or warning to people who want to do business here.
So, as you know, if you want to build a $9 billion company, your market is not in Israel. Your market is in somewhere else. But if you want to build a technology like that, the best place in the world is in Israel. You have floods of talent, from all over the place, and it's much more suitable to do groundbreaking technologies like that in Israel than any other center of talent in the world. That includes the Silicon Valley, because here people are not afraid to break things that are thought as best practice. Here people are being motivated when you tell them that it's impossible to do it, and you get it the next morning. So for me, it's going to be a company that enables the world to be a better place, and the center of this company is in Israel. That's the right place today, and it will be the right place tomorrow. Regarding the business side, well, you probably understand that our main market is North America, and
Sure.
we have people on the ground right now that are bringing business in America.
Okay, sounds great. Ami, in the last few seconds, just tell us, how can people follow you and follow your work in the company?
I would be happy if you can get them to SQream.com, SQREAM.com. We are looking for talent right now, and we'll be delighted if people can learn more about the projects we're doing right now with this technology.
Okay, and we will put a link to that at the show notes of today's show at goldsteinongelt.com. Ami Gal, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks again.
You are listening to the Goldstein on Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world, but if you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.goldsteinongelt.com. The Goldstein on Gelt Show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein on Gelt Show.